Good morning. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church, a community of youth, adults, and children sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Heather McLean. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm serving on the board of directors. To share a request for today's meditation, please place it in the chat box before the opening hymn or add it to our meditation bowl. Please gain consent before you use someone's full name. The meditation bowl is in the Soulworks Center, which is right over there, along with some activities to help people of all ages engage with today's service. As you can see, Reverend Jessica has arrived in Minnesota. We are so excited that you're here. Please join us in welcoming her by getting your picture taken in the atrium so that we can update our photo directory. We will be taking these photos all month long, and our goal is to get 90% of our members with their photos in the directory. And right now we are at 58%. We will be formally welcoming Reverend Jessica at a reception after the in-gathering service on September 10th. Our church is committed to helping build a Habitat for Humanity home between August 28th and the 31st. Volunteers must be 18 or older or 16 plus with supervision. No building experience is necessary, and you can choose to work 1, 2, or 4 days. If interested, please visit the booth in the social hall. Thank you to Laura Stone-Girage. Wow, okay. Thank you to Laura Stone-Girage for intertwining today's reflections on this year's General Assembly with meaningful music. Laura, we appreciate your many gifts and talents. Welcome to our church, where together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Jessica Clay, and my pronouns are she, hers, and I am so excited to be here. Our call to worship this morning are amended words by Reverend Rebecca Edmonston Lang. Welcome, good morning, welcome to this morning together. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come into this worship which is filled with holy reflections. Reflections on the annual gathering of Unitarian Universalists, General Assembly. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. Hopes for who we are as a people of faith, hopes for the world we want to bring into being. For here you need not hide nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can hear each other's words, experiences, and dream of our own future involvement in the life of our denomination. Come into this place where we can dream of our future principles and purposes, dream of how our faith is transformed by our participation. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. My name is Heather Olson-Tro, and I use she, her pronouns. I had the privilege of attending GA as a virtual delegate this year. It was a real learning experience, and it deepened my understanding of Unitarian Universalism in unexpected ways. I thought GA would be a collection of songs, stories, and joy, and very little else. There definitely was a great deal of beautiful music and inspiring speeches, but my own personal conception of GA didn't include the realities of trying to bring together a group of people to make decisions. I didn't realize there would be so many disagreements. I didn't really expect there would be dramatic, difficult experiences. And I definitely wasn't expecting to be frustrated by politics and financial arguments. But of course, the reality is Unitarian Universalism exists in the real world. We are a varied, beautiful group of people, but we all carry within us personal flaws, inhibitions, misunderstandings. And sometimes those flaws contribute to racism, transphobia, homophobia, ableism, and countless other oppressions. We're not immune to any of the problems that afflict our world today. This served as a great reminder to double down on our anti-oppression and anti-racism efforts here within ourselves and our institutions. But what I also saw that gave me a lot of hope was a vital, efficient, carefully observed, democratic institution at work. We have inspiring leaders whom we have elected to guide us. We have bylaws that we're trying to amend so that they better represent us as a group and carry us forward into our future. We have fellow UUs to whom we can look for guidance, and they are showing up to serve, to help push us forward. Witnessing those particular elements of GA helped me to reshape my expectations of what we could be as a group, the sort of realistic utopia that we actually can work together to achieve. So let us light the chalice today for the hard work that we have ahead of us and the beautiful harmony that we can achieve together as Unitarian Universalists.
I'm Reverend Jack, and my pronouns are he, him. Please join me in our unison opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. For our opening hymn, we will hear a brief reflection from one of our other GA delegates.
I'm Dawn Shooty McKinnon, and my pronouns are she, her. At the start of the first worship service at General Assembly, we joined in singing, "Come, come, whoever you are." And as I realized I was joining voices with hundreds of other UUs from around the country, I got goosebumps. The strong feeling of connection filled my body with warmth and love, and this feeling stays with me as I make this recollection. Another takeaway I have from GA is the sense that my voice and vote counted in the important business that we engaged in. One of these tasks was to review the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. As we considered many amendments, I was satisfied that my vote mattered and made a difference.
Our opening hymn is going to be number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, from the gray hardcover hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit. We sing this song often, so many of you might know it already, but we're going to be adding in a descant today that was left out of the original poem on which it was based. I'll sing it a few times. Feel free to join in when you get it. It goes like this. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. Perfect. As you know, there's it's hard to catch your breath sometimes. You might want to breathe after vows. That's what I've learned. So we're going to sing this through together. Pick which line makes sense to you. You might go back and forth. We'll sing it through 3 times. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, 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 though you've broken your vows 1,000 times.
My name is Amy, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'd like to invite those who would like to come forward for our story this morning, especially those children and youth among us, to come forward and join me. Good morning. Here they come. Welcome. It's good to see you all. So I brought something special to share with you all, something that might look a little familiar. But as Unitarian Universalists, we say that we are bound together not by creed, but by covenant. And those are some big words there. This means that while some of our beliefs about the big questions in life, about a higher power or about what happens after we die and more, even though those beliefs might be different from one another, what holds us together in community are special promises that we create about how we want to be when we're together, about how we want to live, about how we hope to care for one another, and how we hope to care for our communities. And we try our very, very best to live into these promises each and every day. So these special promises are called covenants, and we make them in our congregations, we make them in our classrooms, and sometimes we might have spoken and unspoken covenants with families and friends and other communities too. Covenants are a little different from rules in that we build them together. This means that each of us gets to name what we need physically, emotionally, and spiritually to feel safe in community together. As our community needs and understandings change, so do our covenants. So we say covenants are living and they bind us together. So one way that we illustrate this for our children and youth is to create paper chain covenants. And we write promises on strips of paper and we attach them to one another, adding and removing links as we are called. So some of these say love, be kind, help one another, listen. That's what's on this paper chain covenant. Our Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, that's a mouthful, that's why sometimes we say the UUA instead, also has a covenant. It's a list of promises, and it's listed in something called Article 2 of the UUA bylaws, right? It's our governing document. These promises are meant to name how our congregations, all the Unitarian Universalist congregations in the association, can be in right relationship with one another. Many of you know this covenant as our 7 or 8 principles. Does that sound familiar? And many of us have found deeper meaning in these principles too, beyond just the UUA. But just like the covenants we create in our classrooms, in congregations and circles of families and friends, this covenant too is living, and it's meant to change. And it has changed throughout time in our association of congregations. So a long, long time ago, in 1961, the covenant between congregations was made up of just 6 principles, and it included principles like to affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality, the dignity of man, and the use of democratic method in our human relationships. But as a movement, we learned and we listened, and our covenants shifted to reflect our learnings. And some of the language and intentions of those principles were updated, and some were included in the new covenant, and some were let go of completely. And that's okay, because that's how covenants work, right? In 1987, the new Article 2 revisions were complete, and this is the 7 principles that you all are familiar with, right? And they became our covenant between congregations, with principles like the inherent worth and dignity of every person. As a movement, we listened and learned some more, and we're called to shift our covenant once again. This particular congregation and many, many others have voted to add an 8th principle, journeying towards wholeness, spiritual wholeness, by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. So our covenant changed again. At the same time, a group of Unitarian Universalists, it's another mouthful, they're called the Article 2 Study Commission, has been diving deeper into making more changes. And now our Association of Congregations are being invited to be part of this process to consider more changes to our covenant. We began this year by voting at General Assembly, the annual gathering of those congregations, whether or not to continue with this process, and we voted yes. So we are. There's more changes coming. This new proposed covenant calls us to live into shared values like justice, interdependence, equity, generosity, pluralism, transformation, all through the spiritual discipline of love. And of course, this covenant will be living too. We will continue to hold space for wonder and listening and learning and change. So our children, youth, and facilitators are going to be diving a little deeper into the work of Article 2 and the Study Commission and Covenant all together when we leave here in a moment to go to the social hall. And we're going to invite you all to join us too after the service. You'll be able to find information on Article 2, on Covenant, and you'll be able to speak a little bit more with our General Assembly participants that you're going to hear from in a little bit today. So I invite you to please rise in body or spirit to sing us all on our way. Go Lift It Up, number 1057, in Singing the Journey.
Oh Morning. My name is Jane Bacon, and I use the pronouns she and her. Too close. What happens at General Assembly matters. I've been able to attend many General Assemblies in person over the past 15 years. Coming together with UUs from all across the country made me realize that our congregation is not alone, but is part of a network of congregations that support the individual's search for meaning and provide a community to support our work for justice. I was at the GA in New Orleans in 2017 when delegates passed a responsive resolution to change the name of the UUA's public witness campaign to, quote, better reflect the needs and contributions of disabled people, unquote. Okay, it is. Okay, I can't see the photo or not. Okay, so the photo on the screen shows some of the people who spoke in favor of the resolution. Passage of that resolution is why we now say side with love rather than using the original wording. And I was at the Justice GA in Phoenix in 2012, where delegates discussed the doctrine of discovery based on 15th century papal decrees that legitimized the colonial era seizure of native lands because those original inhabitants were not Christians. Delegates then passed a resolution repudiating the doctrine of discovery and calling for the full implementation of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. At that same GA, over 1,000 UUs went into the desert, joining with groups supporting immigrants to protest Sheriff Joe Arpaio's tent city. Arriving by bus with my UU companions and seeing thousands of lights shining forth in the darkness is a sight I will never forget. These are just a few examples, but I hope they explain what I meant when I opened by saying, what happens at General Assembly matters. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Laura. My pronouns are she, her. This was my first time to attend General Assembly, and I attended online. The music was really important. One of the first things that happened was that we all sang together, like giving voice to the Spirit, like we do here. And I knew all the songs, and that made me feel right at home. And I mentally thanked Carol Cowett, our former principal musician, for teaching us all of those songs. And between speakers and meetings, there followed many musical interludes. There were choirs, there were diverse song leaders who led in beautiful, different styles. There were elements of gospel music. There was the duo called Emma's Revolution that sang really beautiful, spiritual, original songs. So we've heard some of them here. And all throughout GA, there was a 4-piece jazz combo that accompanied singers and played instrumental music, music that's familiar to us, but in a more improvised and sometimes more upbeat style. And because jazz has been called America's only truly American music, and even America's classical music, I was really happy to see it celebrated by the UUA. And so this morning, the music and worship teams decided to try to echo to some extent the music of the GA. Excuse me, I'm not a speaker. And I was asked to jazz it up a bit. So most of the music you'll hear is familiar but somewhat improvised, and with my limited but growing improv experience and skills. And I also want to say I'm really honored to be one of the people who helps to bring music to this church. But back to the GA, there was a lot of inspiration, even other than music. And I came away knowing that I have a spiritual home, and it gives my life much meaning and guidance. Thanks.
This congregation is exclusively sustained by the generosity of the people who call this place home. By giving to this morning's offering, you are giving life to WBUUC's mission of growing souls and serving the world. In addition to putting a contribution in a collection basket in a moment, you can also donate on the WBUUC webpage by sending or leaving a check in the locked box outside of the front office, or by using the text to give option in your order of service or in the Zoom chat box. Thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life that we live together.
Here we are, about 120 people in the room and 60 households on Zoom. One of our GA delegates, Jonathan Kosh, couldn't be with us in person today, but we have a photo of them up. I'm sharing their words and incorporating a prayerful moment into this service that they found meaningful while attending GA. They write, "Though I desperately wish I could be there in person, I am there with you in spirit. It was such an honor and privilege to be a delegate from WBUUC, and I'm grateful for that journey. One of the main themes throughout my experience in Pittsburgh was the renewal of faith in and reverence for the interdependent web of existence. At the opening celebration, Miguel Sage Jr., a representative of the Council of Three Rivers American Indian Center, gave us a powerful idea that all the waters from creeks, rivers, lakes, eventually all lead into the one world ocean. So if one should shed a tear of sadness, a tear of happiness, that tear would eventually mix with all other tears shed from all existence in the great waters of the universe. This sense of interdependence was strong and meaningful." I want to share a prayer with you all that was offered at GA by the Reverend Duncan Teague. Please join me as you are able. Please rise in body or spirit. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Look around you, to your neighbor, to a stranger, to the sky, the trees, the earth. That breath you took in sustains your breath, and you breathe the air that flowed through the other's lungs just a minute ago. We share it, one breath, over and over and over. Look around again. no matter how we feel about those with whom we are sharing the air, those who love us, support us, laugh with us, make peace with us, those who may have harmed us or harmed our loved ones, we must now take the breath to live, to be alive, because we share it. One breath. This morning, we are holding in light and in love Ginny Johansson as she celebrates her 70th birthday with the good news that her immunotherapy chemo injections are slowing down her cancer. We have requests for our friend Laura, free of cancer. Yay. Prayers are with Ross as he mourns the passing of his father, Stu. From Anne, prayers for my friend Lee and her family. Lee's husband, Ron, died suddenly on Thursday. And from Samantha, gratitude for my mother's successful hip surgery and for the health of our family. May health bless all of you as well. And now for just a moment, we name out loud those we are holding in our hearts and minds. Knowing that together we are more able to hold these things, we say, may it be so, and amen.
My name is Nico, and my pronouns are they, them. I attended GA online this year, and in the chat box early on, a conversation began problematizing the words virtual and in person. No human is virtual. All of us attending, even online, were embodied and fully present, just in person at our own homes. It's kind of a fun conversation. Someone in the chat box suggested the terms online and on-site, and I quite like those. I enjoyed attending GA online, and I have been reflecting on the ways technology can deepen my spiritual connection to the larger UU movement. I took in most of GA's offerings sitting on the floor at my coffee table, often with the speaker or musician's face taking up my entire laptop screen. In an environment like this, there are no buffers between what happens on my screen and my own tender heart. And this is a really beautiful and a really dangerous thing that called to mind the need for healthy boundaries and covenant. Certainly, when hurtful words were spoken during the discussion section of a general session, my sense of vulnerability was heightened because my home is supposed to be a safe space from such things. But the intimacy of attending online was also true as people on site gathered around President-elect, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, for the laying on of hands. I stretched my hand towards my laptop screen and felt the other UUs across the country stretching their hands towards their devices too. Part of the blessing of that moment came from within my own home, and I found that incredibly powerful. Next year's GA is fully online, and I hope you'll consider attending. I hope we can spend the time leading up to next GA intentionally preparing our spaces and our spirits, exploring how technology can deepen our Unitarian Universalism together.
Good morning. I'm Janet Hanson. My pronouns are she and her. Oh, sorry. Janet Hanson. My pronouns are she and her.
And Bob Hanson, using he and him.
Among the many worthwhile activities at General Assembly, we were pleased to attend the President's reception held by the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. When we were introduced to the UUSC President, Reverend Mary Catherine Moore, she immediately recognized we were from WBUUC and expressed appreciation of our church's strong support through the years, including the Guest at Your Table program. UUSC advances human rights through grassroots partnerships because local organizations have a presence in the communities affected. At the reception, Reverend Warren discussed and showed a video of several current UUSC initiatives. Some of the highlights of the discussion include
climate and disaster justice work addressing climate-induced damage and displacement due to ground subsidence and sea level rise affecting indigenous populations in Louisiana and Alaska. Ukrainian Alliance for Black Justice Poland was formed to help Black and Brown people seeking to flee Ukraine and reside in Poland. In Haiti, UUSC partnered with SOFA, a Haitian-led feminist organization which offers counseling, advocates for the right to health care, and confronts gender-based violence and fights the disproportionate impact that poverty has on women and girls. We were moved during a question and answer session with Reverend Warren when an individual from Haiti publicly thanked UUSC for continuing their work in Haiti since so many other organizations have given up and left.
We encourage everyone to go to uusc.org and learn about the more than 60 current partnerships worldwide. This is an organization that helps people, many people around the world, and an organization UU should be proud to support. We'll be receiving materials soon for Guests at Your Table, and we hope, please consider being generous.
A regular highlight of GA for me is the Berry Street essay. The leadership of the UUA invites someone within our faith to bring us a radical and prophetic message needed for our time. It's no surprise that this year's speaker, the Reverend Cecilia Kingman, spoke about the rise of fascism and the prevalence of misinformation. Surprisingly, though, she used the children's TV show My Little Pony as an example of a subversive and feminist approach to combating fascism and inappropriate uses of power. I encourage you to find this essay. I can tell you how to find it. She argued that power and privilege are an addiction and that addictions are lies. She charged us to change our leadership and continue to listen to the voices on the margins. Because, as she told us, no one is better equipped to fight fascism than people who are being targeted by fascism. There were two respondents to the Berry Street essay. One highlighted the fact that rest and joy and living well are acts of resistance. And the other highlighted three key words or phrases as a response: joy, clarity, and excavation of privilege. Just last week, our guest preacher here spoke on this very topic of fascism, and I imagine that will be a topic we discuss regularly this year. A collective response to fascism must be more than just intellectually based anger. This is a matter of life and death for some members of our community. We must channel that anger and frustration into collective action and political engagement. I hope that this congregation will take Cecilia's charge seriously and heed the advice of her two respondents to excavate unseen privileges and to pursue joy and rest.
I'm Helen Duritza, she, her, a late 60s fair-skinned tall woman with light-colored straight chin-length hair. I'm wearing a summer dress in a floral pattern of white apple blossoms with pink wild roses and orchids over a mottled brown background. My earrings are white coin-shaped discs, and my shoes are white sneakers. The reason I'm describing myself to you all is that at this year's GA, to be inclusive of all abilities, verbal descriptions were given before each person spoke to the assembly in order for those with visual challenges to be able to picture the speaker. This inclusion continued by having hearing assistance for those who needed it, electric scooters for those who needed them, as well as the fact that we could participate in GA virtually, therefore allowing more delegates to attend who might not have the time, physical ability, or financial support to attend in person. At this time, I am mostly able-bodied. At other points in my life, I have not been so, due to physical injury, emotional pain, or, as we all experienced, isolation due to the pandemic. This can be a continuum of being or an abrupt change from ability to non-ability. Our Unitarian Universalist Society demonstrated during the annual conference that we are an inclusive society within our structure to honor, hear, and see all of us in all these abilities. The impact resonated for me. I hope to see us here at WBUUC also honor, hear, and see all abilities.
My name's Deborah DeBrew, she, her pronouns. Those of you who were here last fall might remember the surveys and cottage meetings that were held by the search committee. Perhaps you participated in one of them. One of the strong expressions we heard was that our congregation hopes that it can be more welcoming to and inclusive of people on the margins. While attending this year's General Assembly, I had a chance to see the members of the UUA leadership in action. The UUA leadership was populated by a wide array of people, many of which are part of the marginalized sectors of our society. People of color, differently able, differently educated, having less economic power, LGBTQ, and so many more. What I saw was not window dressing to make our denomination look welcoming. What I saw was radical welcoming and inclusion in practice. Radical welcoming and inclusion values not merely people's presence in the pews, window dressing, or feel good. Radical welcoming and inclusion values the different voices, their different perspectives, their different practices that people on the margins can bring to a congregation. Radical inclusion often requires that members of the congregation be open to change and open to practices that are new and give us new ways to practice UUism. While at GA, General Assembly, I envisioned the UUA leadership as a role model for congregations such as ours who want to practice radical welcoming and inclusion. But how did the GA get there? How did the UUA get there? And how can we get there? Well, as a role model, why don't we just ask them? Thank you.
Thank you to all of our participants for sharing their reflections. How are you all feeling? Proud? Are you thinking about that cup of coffee that's waiting for you in the social hall? Because that was a little low energy. So what themes did we hear today? You can just yell them out. Inclusion, justice, connection, diversity, rest. Hold on one second. Accessibility and joy, and there was one over here. Love, music, change, something about challenges, conflict, learning, improvisation, justice. Yes. So where is next year's GA? Okay, you were listening. When was the last revision of the principles? You were also listening. You all get gold stars. Yes, 87. And when's the next one? Next year, yes. So we're going to dive into this deeper this year. This is not the last time that you are going to hear about it, but we hope that you are engaged and on fire for this faith and thinking already about attending online next year. Maybe we could get a big group from this congregation. Maybe we could have watch parties together. Lots of possibilities before us. We are building a new way, and we need all of you to do it. Will you please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Building a New Way, number 1017 in the Teal hymnal. Will you turn to your neighbor and tell them we are building a new way? Will you turn to your other neighbor and tell them we are working to be free? Now will you turn to another neighbor and tell them we can feed our every need? Now maybe move around and go tell someone peace and freedom is our cry. Go in love, dear ones. Please join us for coffee hour, in the social hall. Excuse me.